Hey, hello VC. Rock and Ronnie here, Ron Beaudry. Hey, went and picked up the 2014 reissue of Led Zeppelin II. Now, if you remember on my last video, I ordered this from Music Direct, but everybody was out of it. Nobody had it. Well, there's a few sellers on eBay have it, so I picked one up. I wanted to hear what it sounded like, and what we're going to do today is I compared it to the Classic Records 200 gram reissue that I've had, since it came out. And right away, you can look at the color of the covers. The Classic Records, to me, looks a lot better. It's got more color on it. They did what they did here for whatever reasons, but I think that looks a lot better. And it's a little bit thicker cover. But, the covers, this is pretty nice. It's that nice trifold, and I got, of course, the double record, because on Led Zeppelin III, I wasn't so impressed with the studio, the original version. That companion disc, wow, did it ever sound fantastic. And they basically took all those old tracks we all know on that record, and they had a little different version that wasn't overproduced and overdubbed and compressed and echo added and all that. Boy, it sounded great. Well, in the long and short of it, this is terrible. This new 2014 reissue, this double record, it's got nothing that I want on a record compared to the other stuff. Now, sound-wise, and that's what this channel is about, isn't it? It's about what I've been doing lately in this latest series is getting some of the new reissues and listening to them and comparing them to what I have, what I think is the best sounding record out there. And of course, what I have is the Classic Records 200 gram reissue, which I think is the best one out there. And it blows it. It blows it out. It blows it away. It's so good. Now, as we stated earlier, and where everybody knows now, Atlantic went and took, with Jimmy Page's permission for some reason, went and took the analog tape and they digitized it. And then they took that digital ones and zeros and they made the lacquer from that. And then they made an analog record. Why do they have the analog tape in the first place if they're not going to make records from the tapes? If you're just going to make CD versions of records, just digitize it and throw the tapes away. You don't need them anymore. Hopefully somebody else will come along here and they will get the tape again down the road. Maybe Quality Records, Analog Productions, someone like that might get a hold of it and actually make the record again the way it was made by Classic Records reissue. They took the analog tape and from there they remastered it to a lacquer from the tape. They didn't digitize it. And it sounds so much better. I made a few notes here so that I wouldn't forget when I listened to the record. And right off the bat, what you really notice is when Robert Plant starts singing. And what I did was I listened to a Whole Lot of Love. And back in the day, I had the 45 of that record, and I listened to it over and over and over again, and finally got a little older and bought the record. You know how that goes. But I have listened to that song a million times, just on the radio alone, probably. Now, the voice, Robert Plant's voice, it's more 3D. It's got more texture, it's got more harmonic structure. It just sounds more real. This whole LP, this whole record here, it's like you've got your frequency range that you're recording. That's on the Classic Records reissue. Now this one, it sounds like we're listening to only this part of it. We're listening to all the mid frequencies. All this other information is missing. All the texture, all the harmonic structure, all that stuff, all the, a lot of the stuff, the information about, placement of instruments. And another thing that really bothered me too, when you start listening to this record, and it goes to where the guitar, he goes the guitar from low to high, and you know how it would go from one speaker to the other? Well, it's not on this. And what I like about Whole Lotta Love, you get into where it starts swirling around, and the record and the guitars are just, I love all that. That's part of the record. I want that on there. I don't hear it on here. It's in spades on the Classic Records reissue. And, also, just the guitar, all the information in general, is like what I said. It's just, there's stuff missing from it. Now, when we get to the cymbals, it's the same thing. This record, he's tapping the cymbals, ching, ding, through them. And bottom's tapping the cymbals. I'm only hearing this part of a frequency range of the cymbal. On the Classic Records reissue, I'm hearing all this stuff, and I'm hearing the decay of the cymbal sounds. I'm hearing all that stuff, which is really what a cymbal sounds like, and makes it sound real. It's not on here. It's unbelievable what they've done to the record. And then you get to the companion disc. Well, I was hoping, that's really why I bought this. I didn't think, comparing the Classic Records reissue to this, knowing what I know already, I didn't think it was going to sound all that good compared to it. I thought it might sound decent, but, really disappointed with that part of it. But I was holding out hope for that companion disc, because boy, on Led Zeppelin III, the companion disc was so much better. It sounded fantastic. They took all those classic songs off 3, and they found a different version of it that wasn't overdubbed and compressed, and a lot of echo added, and it sounded great. It sounded better than the original record did. But now, the companion disc on this, when you take, for instance, Whole Lotta Love, it sounds like they took the original 4-track recording, and now we're only going to listen to 1 track in mono of the 4 tracks. And there's so much stuff missing. And, on that, where there's bleed through, it goes way down inside, and then you hear him way down inside, you hear the little, the bleed through parts. You know what I'm talking about, where you hear that little faint, what he's going to sing, and then it actually comes. Well, on this record, you hear that bleed through, that faint singing, and then it never appears because you're not listening to the other track. It's horrible. Who wants to listen to that? Why waste my time? Why am I going to waste my time listening to that mess? Yeah, I'll listen to this before I listen to anything on this record. And, there's a lot of good versions of this record out there. Obviously, the original, the 2nd edition, 3rd edition, you can get some nice Japanese editions of this record. Of course, the Classic Records reissue, if you want to spend the money, that's the one to get. This is not the one to get. This has got no redeeming qualities at all. Aside from the fact that, it's quiet. It's a quiet pressing. It's got a quiet background on it. That's what CDs have, don't they? They have a quiet background on it. But that is not worth owning, in my opinion. So, and then, I've been looking for this for quite a while. Moody Blues, Question of Balance. I have all my other Moody Blues records. They're on a 1st edition Japanese pressing on that DSD. Really, really fantastic sound on those records. Only I couldn't find, a Question of Balance. This is from 1970, so it's a little harder to get. You might see the odd one on eBay that's, in nice enough shape, excellent plus or something, mint or mint type of thing, where I would buy it, but, they would be $150 or $200, I'm not doing that. So I tried to find one for quite a long time now. And then when I was shopping on Music Direct looking for the new Led Zeppelin, I saw, hey, they reissued this. So I picked it up, and it just came out. And I've always had a 1st edition Canadian version of this record. That's the one I had in my collection. And it was issued in Canada on this London label with the threshold up here, but it's a white London That's what they did in Canada. And now Classic Records has, not Classic Records, Friday Music has reissued it. I think this is what the label they've got on there. It's nice, Threshold, and here's your Little Friday Music insignia on the bottom. But okay, all that aside, you know, and it's a gatefold. It's a little thin. They could have done a nicer job on the cover. It's about that's about as thin as you want to go. You don't want to make it any thinner than this. They could have done a better job on the cover. The sound now, comparing the sound from the first edition, you know, domestic type pressing, to this reissue, which is supposedly, you know, these are audiophile pressings. I really noticed the sound stage was a lot bigger on this Friday Music reissue. The original press was more centered between the speakers, and then on the Friday, I really heard spread across. The soundstage widened up quite a bit. A lot more stuff going on. It's a little quieter. It's got better bass. My son noted that he could hear tambourine on this where he couldn't hear it on the first edition, and so this is a really good record. But you know, this is what always happens. It must happen to everybody the same. Like I said before, I've been looking and looking for this. So I bought one. And then I went on eBay yesterday, and guess what I found? Yeah, I found a Japanese first edition. Of course, it doesn't have the OB on it, but it looked to be a really nice copy, and it wasn't a lot of money. So I'm probably going to pick it up, because this being as good as I said, it's missing that first edition, you know, realism. I think it could have been better. So even though it's really good, it's all about what do you compare it to. That's why so many people, you know, they buy a record and they say it sounds great. They love it. How could this be any better? You know, I've done that my whole life. You know, you're listening to your stereo and you listen to it and you say, it could never sound better than this. And then you get a different equipment stand, or you get a new preamp and you go, wow, this is so much better. Could never sound better than this. And then you get some new better speakers, or you get a different reissue. It sounds so much better. And that's why I concentrate on record pressings, because for $25 I can get a record that will make my stereo sound what thousands of dollars of cartridges and preamps can't do. You know, this is the source. If you don't have it here, your stereo can't manufacture it. If you don't have it here, you can't ever have it. So it always starts with the source, and the source, of course, is the record. Then you've got your cartridge, your turntable, your preamp, power amp, all the chain down the way. But if you don't have it at the beginnings, you can't ever, it's not ever going to come out the speaker. And so the biggest bang for the buck is always that better sounding record, if you want a great sound. So thanks to all my subscribers for tuning in. I'm up to about 431, I think, the last time I looked on there. That's fantastic. You know, I've only been doing this since, I think it was about 10 months ago I started doing it, when I made my video for eBay about how to package and ship records. And again, you know, when I bought this, I got this one off eBay, and it came in the LP mailer box, got a dented corner on it. The guy had taken the records out of the shrink already. He said it was brand new, never played. But, you know, how do I know that? But I got a really bad corner ding up here because it wasn't packed properly. Thanks to, you know, traditional, lazy eBay shippers. You know, I guess that concludes the video today. Thanks for tuning in again, and I'm going to try to pick up that Japanese version of that, and I'll get back to you and let you know how that compares to all that stuff, how that new reissue compares to probably what is the best sounding version out there. Thanks again. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.